let me start sharing with you some of my thoughts which have been with me for quite several years. But let me begin with when he gave me topic of evolution of higher education in India and global, but I'll take it from the global and then come to higher education. You know, if you look at the first wave of universities in the world, India had the 3 universities in the world during the first wave of universities, and the Egypt and 1 or 2 more countries had universities in the West. This was the first wave of university. That time we didn't have the kind of development which we are seeing in the first industrial revolution. It was basically supported by energy from the man and human and animal energy, and it was a slow rate of growth, and you were growing at a very agriculture development took place. You find that architecture took place, astrology took place, astronomy also took place, and all those periods in the process of these 3 universities, and religion, philosophy, and all these were part of it. Similarly, you find in Egypt and 3 more universities which came during that time. They were also focusing on mathematics, language, religion, and other aspects. That was a period of slow rate of growth where the human and animal source of energy was used, agriculture, every aspect of life was managed by the human animal sources of energy. But when the major breakthrough took place in the energy source, when the steam was fire and steam coming, water coming together and making the mechanical source of energy, things started changing very fast. And those countries who were depending on the human animal sources, they were put a little less advantage. But these were the universities, they gave a lot of knowledge to the world at that time. And you must be knowing that one of the greatest contribution India made during that period of time was, invention of zero. And Einstein has accepted its fact that had the zero not been invented by India, perhaps scientific development would not have taken in the world. And that is why the zero has been, very, very interesting story of zero. Zero was coming out of the philosophy, thinking of Sunya too, they developed a zero, and zero was always put behind the digit, and that gave the power to the digit. Single digit was having nothing but gave power to digit, and zero could add to infinity, and that was a great scientific development of the thing. And therefore, but when it traveled to the Arab countries, some of the people wanted to put the zero on the top of the digit. And the top of digit, if you put that, you can change this kind of thing. So it was found that it is not a secured one, and therefore it's the wrong way of putting it. That finally it was decided it should be put at the after the digit. Then it traveled to France and many other countries, and Einstein had therefore accepted and written about it, that there was an invention of zero, and zero had changed the scientific development over the world, all over the world. So when the new source of energy took place and mechanical source of energy, those limitations which were available going to the physical and human resource, animal resource was removed. You can produce over the 24 hours, that kind of system, because you put the more coal, you put the water and let the engine go and it can be. So first industrial revolution started bringing a major change in the world in terms of education processes. It changes in terms of required number of, there are a large number of persons were required for doing this kind of job and other thing. Therefore, you'll find a system of schooling, a system of universities became, there were a university, but demand for increasing, developing universities came very strongly. So that was the period when the changes started coming. And you would find that slowly university started changing its character globally. And you would find the science was introduced, scientific research was going on, many other subjects were going, and technology. Of course, it was taking slow period. You would find that from steam electricity to electricity level to come almost 50 years or so. It went, but it was going faster. Second industrial revolution make a major change in terms of the education processes as well as subjects of studies and other things. At that time, you find many changes were taking place. But one of the major development took place during that period in the world was, beside breakthrough in the energy sources, there was a breakthrough in sources of war machinery. Major source of war machinery came with regard to the invention of dynamite. You might, the person who has been, who has, on whose name the Nobel Prize is being said, that he invented dynamite. Dynamite was a kind of putting the power in a certain thing, and barrel of gun and can kill. That's kind of change came as a power, knowledge. Other side of knowledge, the war machinery. War was earlier fought with the sword, with the, all sorts of extra. There was nothing, a system of like you can put a certain thing, the thing, and then fire it, and it can fire. I remember one of the oldest, one old time in Rajasthan, one of the kings said that I would like to have a weapon. I sit here and fire it there. He used the word "eth beta oath maro," means sitting here I should kill somebody else. But there was imagination. There was nothing of that kind. But they invented this kind of, and that gave the power to these people. Power, so much of power it gave that, because here it remained more or less animal and human sources of energy and slow rate of growth. They entered into the mechanical source of energy, second industrial, and with the large scale of production, which they can distribute to all the other people, and the ability to overpower, that kind of thing. So university system, on one way, it started working on scientific development, various other second industrial revolution, and then we went to the third industrial. I'll come to third industrial revolution little later, but I'll come to India first. So you would find that all over the world, the university system was changing. They were becoming more scientific way of doing things. Analysis was being suggested. More invention, innovation were taking place, and that way. But this power gave to them with the dynamite and this kind of use of power through the barrel of gun, etc. That also gave them more trading power as well as communication power. So you would find those who invented this, they became more powerful in terms of communication and the firepower. That's it. And there is one story, and this was published in the Economist long back. They could have a lot of goods and other thing. They went to China, and with the shipload of the material and good, they said that, look here, we have these things and you should like to buy from us. Then Chinese said that, no, we are good. We may not need these things, and we don't need it. After 10 years, they went there and with the same lot of goods and products, etc. And they said, you buy it. They said, no. Then they showed the gun. And that made the trading system change. And that also changed the trading system. You find that also gave the communication system, using the steam energy to come from one country, using the power of navy and other thing coming to any part of the country, you find changes started coming very well. When in India they entered it, they were trying to capture. It took a long time for them to come to that level. But in 1935, when they had already established themselves in many ways through the trading process and the gunpowder and the ability to divide and manage and that kind of system, that intelligence kind of a thing that they did. As a result, they entered from the port. Earlier, you find that Portuguese entered in Goa area, but they didn't go went further. Sometimes French also entered, but then these people, British people, entered from the Calcutta airport and other areas, and they started entering, and they captured India in many ways, because we didn't have that kind of firepower. We didn't have that. We had a resource, but we were very good at in terms of dealing with the people, their human relations, and etc. And so you'd find that they established the rule in over a period of time. In terms of it started with they wanted that we have so many persons working in a company, and we would like to manage these companies. So we would like to have our own law for managing these people, and they created the penal code which we are using today. And through that, they try to manage the things. And those who are not following that, they get it. But anyway, that sort of system continued. We were under their governance. And then it so happened that they said that we want to establish the governance in India for a long period. So these people used to came, and then one of the person who came to India was Macaulay, Lord Macaulay, which they call it. So he was assigned the job of tour over the country and see what best we can do in terms of changing the profile of education and development profile, and people receiving, believing and also respecting the foreign rule or the other rule. He went around the country and he found that India had a very good education system. There was a system of schooling, there was a system of Gurukul, there was a system of separate crafts, separate other things, but they didn't have a kind of organized system of schooling and etc. That kind of Gurukuls and all this. You find several religious and architecture schools, and there were different kind of a system of education. He said, if we want to rule this country, we should try to have our British education system in India, the English education system in India. We were toured in 1933 or 35, and then he submitted his minutes in the British Parliament. And in 1835, this was accepted. And then they also raised the issue that if you teach them education, they give them English education, one day they will demand the freedom. Then he said, they may demand the freedom, but we will be in their mind for always, because they by color and other thing, they will be Indian, but by thinking, thought process, values, etc., they will be English, and so we can rule them for a long period. And then the new system of education started in India with this kind of dispatch and everything. 1835, things started. Then you might find that India was at that time also bubbling with the kind of a revolution, kind of change. They were not happy with the foreign rule, etc. So in very part of the country, there was something were taking place and etc. In 1857, first war of independence was declared. And it was the 1857, first 3 universities were set up in India. Just see the irony of the thing. When India was trying to liberate itself, they thought education process should make them subjugated. Education is a very important power. You must know, education is a double-edged weapon. You can liberate the people from education. You can also subjugate the people through education. They use this tool for subjugating the people in education. Higher education also became. So 1857 was the mutiny. We call revolution, first part of the India's freedom movement. And then 3 universities, 1857 was set up. One in Bombay, Port Town. Second is Madras, Port Town. Third is Calcutta, all port towns. So that, and for training, creating gentlemen, gentle people, and educating them, and this. There were colleges before that also. You would find that colleges were even 1857. Before 1857, there were about 56 colleges in the country. They were affiliated to British London University, and they were imparting education, etc. They were separately done at various level of country, and there were up to 18th. By 1930, we had about 56 universities in the college in the country, and 3 universities came in 1857. And then you would find many universities started coming. And by 1940, we had 65 colleges, etc. But then 1857, these universities started coming. So what you would find, the change came around that time. Many institutions came as a response to the British education system. They wanted to collaborate and work. But many people came as a freedom movement, and you find they established the colleges, they established the university, and many universities were established by MS University of Baroda was established with the help of Maharaja Sayajirao. And then Bombay University came at that moment of time. Lot of munitions was given the Rajabai. So all those institutions, there was a mix of people, supporting, society supporting, philanthropy support this, and then education process started coming. Either they came as a kind of a trust and as a kind of philanthropic support, and some steps were also taken by the erstwhile states of these countries. You would find it was a princely states and nababs, etc. But some of them also entered into education process, providing education process to them. So you would find that statement that time of King, they also provided schooling education. It is known that we went to in 2009 about compulsory primary education. In 1929, the Bikaner Maharaja issued a dictate that everybody should go to the school, and he assigned the job to the Tahsildar that in your area, if nobody is going to school, find out why he is not going to school, why she is not going to school, and try to fight. So that kind of system was evolving in the country. So during 1857 to freedom till freedom movement, there was a mix of things. Sometimes you'd find that education was used as a tool to subjugate the people. Sometimes education also became a liberating force. Those who were in the university system, colleges, etc., they always questioned the education process, and Gandhi at that time also encouraged people to question the British because that's subjugating education, and that's why. 1857 to our struggle, and it took long time. And there's a very good book by Bipin Chandra and other people on freedom struggle, and you'd find all people contributed. Education also contributed, other society people also contributed in the development of the state. But with the long struggle from the 1930, when Gandhi entered into the process of actively movement on the freedom, 1930 to 1945, and then when 1942 Quit India movement was started, a lot of change came in education process. One side, there's some people had to come from the civil services, military services. For that, education was important, and that continued to this. But after 1942, some changes came at the education process. Many universities and colleges participated in the process of freedom movement. Many people left their job and entered into this kind of. But 1945 to 1947 was a major struggle. In 1947, we became independent. And it was the time for another change. One from earlier was, I said that before we entered into the mechanical process, by that time, third industrial revolution had already entered. Second industrial was on the verge, the third industrial revolution was coming in. Electricity had already been there. Electronics, we are getting into electronics, and the changes were taking very fast. Movement was getting very fast. We became independent in 1947, and then we thought, first we thought of what should be done. We should think of revive higher education. You must be interesting to note that Indian leaders at that moment of time that key to development is higher education. That also influences the school education. That also influences. So first is a University Education Commission was set up under the former president. Later on, he became president of India, Radhakrishnan, and the University Education Commission was set up, and that was trying to suggest what sort of education we should go. Dr. Radhakrishnan has to see the Oriental demand for the Oriental education. He also see the demand for education of the native language and native people. They also saw the demand of the international level of development in science and technology, etc. At that time, leadership was also keen on science and technology development, growth of the country through the science and technology development. So when he submitted his report, it was trying to combine both the traditional and you may call it is native and regional thing, as well as global development that were taking place. The university system was conceived as a university which is going to support and develop the India, but at the same time closely looking into development of the world in terms of science and technology development, etc. The first 1956, the first scientific policy was also formulated that gave the impetus to starting of the universities and colleges with the support with the science and tech. So that the major change came from history, political science, literature to introduction of scientific science knowledge. So that was the period, and growth also took place during that, because one of the major responsibility of the free India was that provide education to the people to a large extent. So almost free education was made. School also free, and higher education also free. I remember I am a product of Quit India movement in 1942, and we used to go to school, and a lot of fees were charged, sometimes good gifts were also given for going to the school, and all those things were there that time. So it was a period of growth, and 1947 to the period of growth was that the school and all the people joined. State means as state except state level, central level. They started working on the development of the university education as well as colleges. Many philanthropists started colleges. In fact, good number of colleges came as a part of philanthropic support. You would find that every state, every region, every had some philanthropy setting up the trust, and most of the development took place. They provided education, infrastructure, etc. And then state came for providing grant for the running of the system or development of the system. So you find that society was closely there. But receiver of education was by and large made free, and with nominal fees was charged at higher education, school education level. But there was a need for supporting education. So when the Radhakrishnan Commission submitted the report, he said that there should be a national level coordinating body for higher education, which we call a standard setting and coordinating body, and they recommended for the setting of the University Grants Commission. And it started working in 1953, but it came into being in 1956 with the Act of the Parliament. And its main job was promoting the higher education, maintenance and coordination standards and higher education, promoting higher education in the country. Therefore, you'd find University Grants Commission became a grants giving body for this purpose, while setting up the certain standards, etc., by encouraging certain areas of research and other thing. And for encouraging areas of research, they gave the grant to the colleges, they gave grant to the university, setting up the department, setting up the buying the infrastructure facility, buying the laboratories, etc. So the University Grants Commission became a source of supporting the growth and development of higher education at that moment of time. The state also came forward with this, and under the planning process, they started developing higher education. So you'll find that from whatever development we took during the 90 years of before India became free, after this, in 50 years, we tremendously changed. 1947, 1951, 1956 onwards, a lot of change. Higher education was growing at 13 to 14% rate of growth at that moment of time. Schools came, colleges came, and colleges were going for high, and still it was less. But there was one setback came in between. One of the setback came when we were also thinking of manpower planning and other areas, etc. So one expert came from USA and suggested that we should try to plan development of education in such a manner that people don't remain unemployed, etc. But he wrongly or by mistake, unconsciously suggested a thing that we should not expand the professional education. We should focus on school education. We should focus on general education. So one of the worst thing which happened around 80s or 70s or etc. That growth of engineering professional education started going down. Couldn't grow as much as a result of this. So this was a misinformation or wrong information given on that kind, and therefore you'd find scarcity of supply, although at that moment of time, you did not feel the scarcity of supply because school education was low. So very few people were coming. Those who did the higher secondary or at that time 10th class or something, by 60 or 70, 60% or 55%, they became doctor, they became engineer, all this thing. And that was the situation because they were, but then demand started going. As the school education went up, so demand started going up. And on that side, general education expanded because general education did not require more of resources. It required black chalkboard person and some library and laboratory. But the science education required some kind of laboratory expenses. The engineering education required more resources. Medical education required more. So India made a mistake on the one part of the fact that they expanded education, they did not went into the professional education in that sense of the term. And therefore, this development took place. We start our universities also came money. Till 80s, there was a fairly good amount of growth in the universities and colleges. And in 90s, you would find major change came in the philosophy and thinking of the Indian leaders, Indian mind or thinking. This change was globally. Globally, what happened in certain countries, you would find the USA, UK, etc. In UK, education was still under the state subject, the state finance, and those who come from outside, they face, but local people do not pay as much as this. So state supported the education. Health was a state responsibility in UK. In USA, it was a community and little state, but community was very effective in terms of setting up the. People gave a donation to the universities, etc. University evolved in that process. There you would find that universities in USA evolved in different manner. Universities in in UK evolved in different manner, and the university in India evolved in different manner. You would find that these are three different state supported here, and then the philanthropists also supported. Their state only fully supported. In the USA and many other countries, you would find the both state philanthropist and education receiver, all these three put together in USA. And research and development was highly supported by philanthropists, and because of their structure and culture, etc. So you'd find that in our country, research was a very less, or therefore research has to be supported. University Grant Commission came out with the idea of providing research. So you would find that fellowship was given for doing the PhD, postdoctoral fellowship were also given, Center for Excellence were set up, Center for Special Assistance were given. So University Grants Commission role was to creating new situation, meeting the new demand of new situation in science, technology, other areas and other things. But 90s, some thinking started changing. 90s, when the liberalization took place, Narasimha Rao became the Prime Minister and Manmohan Singh became the Finance Minister, and we had a problem of finances. And so there's some thinking. And World Bank was not very happy with us in terms of state supporting her. Let me share with you in Bombay, in Nipah, we were there. They used to send the experts. One of the experts was a psychopolist who was written on returns to education everywhere, and he came, and it's a kind of campaign they do it. That's a part of process of their influencing the mind of the people. So he came, and that India should not be investing on the higher education, it should be investing on the school education. We should try to provide school education first and other thing. I had a debate with him, and I said higher education only provides the quality of teachers in school, and R&D is you want to do R&D and you don't want India to do R&D. I said we have developed our nuclear energy, we have developed the space, etc. Even in with limited resources. So, but there was this thought process was influenced by to the political leaders, and as a result, political leaders started thinking that education is a subsidy. And whereas we argued when I was in UGC, I argued that you are going in the wrong way. It is not subsidy; it's a more or less public good and social good. Let society also come, let state also should come. We should try to provide resources for the development of education. But anyway, a white paper was published by Vimal Jalan and Planning Commission, and then he said that the education resources should be mobilized from the students and society, and let this be. So 1990 and 1995 world change started also changing. You might be hearing the word WTO came from GATT's General Agreement to Trade and Services to WTO entered in the era of globalization. Globalization came in terms of the World Trade Organization, wherein it says that free trade will only solve the problem of development, problem of poverty, and that kind of philosophy they started with. Now it is getting changed. So that period also, 1995 also, liberalization became hallmark of development. Throughout the almost 142 countries kind of joined. That hallmark changed the structure and the philosophy of providing education to people. So it wanted that let the receiver of education take it. And that is where they can afford, they can take it, but it required a lot of development. So first it started breaking in the area of, you might have heard the capitation fee colleges, etc., because there is pent-up demand in engineering, pent-up demand in the medical colleges, and therefore, and many people saw it's a great opportunity to enter into educational enterprises, and therefore you find entered in so many private institutions came, private engineering colleges came, private medical, so the new change started coming. So changes started coming in that, which of course relieved the pressure which was already there in the education. Had they not done, the pressure would have been more students would have gone abroad for education, but they relieved the pressure. It's the other way. One side is that state withdrew its, and other side, the private people came forward to support it, and therefore you find a lot of the state also changes philosophy in terms of providing more and more education. You can see in my report in Punjab, I said that you have to continue to providing support if you want to excel in certain areas, but at the same time, if people, philanthropists, and many people, industrialists can come forward, allow them to add. There has to be two channels of growth of higher education, growth of higher education. This became very important. 1992, 2000, major change came when the Manmohan Singh became the prime minister. He was a liberal mind person. Liberal education, liberalization was his hallmark. He worked in the World Bank. World Bank philosophy was that let the education be supported by those who are receiving education. Let there be private entry into education, and all those things were there. So you would find change came around 90s and 95 not onwards, and around 2000 there was a lot of tussle between setting up the private universities and etc. Before that, one first university private university act came in the erstwhile Chhattisgarh, now Chhattisgarh, and that was also run down, and there was because they were spuriously doing many things. But subsequently, after the striking down of, they found out the wage, etc. Many state government changed their philosophy, thinking, and they said we should allow private universities to come. So 1999 or 2000, many state came out the Private University Act. You find that the Punjab also came, Rajasthan also, many states. You find in every state growth of private universities became private colleges were there, engineering, medical, etc. But there was a private general education also. And some of the state colleges were also asked to mobilize funds by self-financing courses and etc. That structure had changed. So liberalization became neoliberalism, and then growth did take place. You must say that one of the other side of benefit is that those who could not enter into the prestigious colleges because of their performance, they could find a place. So possibility of giving education of operational general education, which were less because of less supply, it became more supply became, so people started getting into both professional general and education. So many private universities came. By 2000 to 2012, we had a tremendous amount of growth of private universities and colleges. And now if you look at the professional education, engineering, medical education, almost 80% of them are in the hands of private education providers. They charge self-financing. They are mostly self-financing. Some of the people have invested significantly, creating infrastructure and other things that will take long time for them to recover it. But at the same time, facilities have been created, but cost is also there. If you go to the private college and if you go to a public college or public engineering university or private, there's a vast area. And there's a need for supporting this. Therefore, you find that loan scheme was started in the country for the students studying in India as well as students going abroad and etc. So 2012, it reached to the peak, and now it's slightly growing slowly. But fact of matter, the change has come, and money diversification took place. Even 1988 to 2000, you find diversification took place, subject diversification took place, specialization diversification took place, and the student diversification also took place. Many women students, SCS students, backward students, there are special protection schemes were introduced for them so that they can participate in the education process. For women, special scheme was there done by UGC and many other state governments and etc. Haryana government made the higher education up to post-graduation for the women free and etc. So some initiative were there. And the reservation seats in professional medical colleges were also done as a part of supporting the people who are left out in the system. So 2012 onwards, we have another challenge which is now being faced. One challenge is many private universities have come now. And they have to maintain the quality and still growing, because affordability with the population in India is not as high as you find in the USA. USA affordability is very high, and they can afford the fees, whatever fees, like those who come. UK, because of government is supporting, so affordability question is a little less. But many other countries who adopted this process of liberalization, affordability question is still there. On one side, you have ability to get the access to the education. On the other side, affordability. So if you want to go to engineering college, even so much now economics, which was almost a free, And I was told Asoka University charging 6 lakh rupees. An average person might find it difficult to pay for economics and postgraduate 6 lakh rupees, because middle class and lower middle class aspire for higher. They have contributed in terms of development. So one has to avoid where the facilities have been created, development is R&D development is also taking place. Still, the resources are not available to private university for R&D development. R&D development is still confined to the public sector universities, and therefore, and the philanthropists are not coming to put a lot of money for the R&D development in private universities also, and not only but industries are not come out except a few industries put it there, so they put it to the mostly to the what do you call it. PM Care Fund, of they put it more to the political process instead of paying 1,500 crore to the particular university for R&D, it would have brought a major change. But they have more, it's going for political, our electioneering process like this. If I have not seen those who did it, Rajat Gupta did it, but he started doing, but he had the problem with it. So point which is that industry has not yet come out that you are in the university, Chandigarh University, you are this university, that university, oh, we'll put a 500 crore for doing this research in this area. That is the challenge which has come now. You are able to provide education, you are able to recruit the people, people are able to pay little fees for your, but when it comes to the R&D and other development, private universities are seriously under the difficulty, or the bottleneck is there. Because R&D is a long-term achievement. It takes long time. And therefore you find, so change which is partly has come in a technology area, some universities have come, IMs are being set up everywhere, AMs are being set up everywhere, but still it is very less. Otherwise 20,000 people will not go to Ukraine to do the MBBS course. About 3 lakh people are going in, but they are also studying in Russia, and some of them are studying China medical education. So we have lacked on this. We had bad economics of education, in the sense that we didn't go by investment in such a manner. We had intellectual resources, enough intellectual, so that we could create more of education, engineering, technology, medical, what we call STEM. That should have been invested by the state, and the state should have made it. And our students should not have gone out for education. They would have gone for different regions, not for basic education, means basic degree. They could have gone for postgraduate research, etc., on the basis of fellowship which was being given. But this has been one of the challenge today our students are also facing, our education system is also facing. This challenge has to, NEP has come out with several other things, but I have not yet seen the kind of strong support on the one side to the state system, on the other side, they talked about it. They talked about that we'll go to the 6% of GDP, which has been talked about for last 30, 40 years in this. They also said, but actual allocation during last 5, 6 years has been almost the same, which was prior to that, or even less. So there has to be walk the talk. If you are talking a big thing, then walk. Otherwise, walking, there's a gap. Then we might have today 20,000 students gone to one state, Ukraine, or 3 lakh people have gone for education. And they took money from India. You know, we are sending money to outside country almost 4 or 5 times of what we invest on the development of higher education. That's the kind of investment this has gone. That's ultimately money from the pockets of the people also. So this is the challenge which we are facing now. So I hope in course of time change would come, because this generation has to think. We have, Dr. Das, we have also set up a diploma in international diploma in university higher education, leadership in higher education, where we are focusing on principles of colleges, vice chancellors, etc. How do we respond to the NEP, and how do we going to go into R&D development? My plea to all the universities, in private universities and public university colleges, set up a research and development group, set up a research hub within there. Let many people come and start doing research, because ultimately is research. And a technology development, which after the fourth industry revolution is going to completely change. Let me tell you, after 5 years, you will find that the same system is not there. Because technology is entered in such a manner. Today, I'm sitting in my room. I'm talking to all the people about About 19 people are around in this, throughout the Chandigarh. Yesterday I was talking, day for yesterday, then we had a person from the Kerala to Kanyakumari, the Kashmir and East, Northeast states and etc. So it has become a national class, and it has become a global class. Do you remember, you know that 1 million students appeared for one course of MIT throughout the world, and 4 lakh students passed the particular course in the 1 year's period. So you say they said it become a global classroom. So technology is now enabling. COVID has told you the Zoom has come in, this WebEx has come in, this, and many. And the system of communicating, a system of research is also changing there. It was the computer system. When I started computer, I did my economics facet, to begin with facet machine, then electric machine, electric to electronic machine, electronic to 1640 computer, then 360 computer. Then when I was working in Nepal, it was desktop. And now it is a palm top to it's a almost a mobile. So this change has come. And with the 5G, streaming would become very. So education process will undergo a major change. You would never imagine that this will take in such a manner. Today we are there, I'm here and I'm talking and you are listening, many people can talk almost. In course of time, it will appear that with the AR and VR, it will become a classroom or a conference room. Wherever you're sitting, you'll sit in a kind of, and it will be a virtual way of talking. Only thing, I may not touch you, you may not touch you, but fact of it will be a moral or virtual. Anything which I show you, it will become a very clear because technology is enabling it. AR and VR will make it much worse. Streaming would become, now 5G will help you and metaverse will help you. Streaming becomes all real-time data flow. That becomes very important. So these are the few things I thought I'll share with you. My time was 11:30 to 12 or 12:30, 12 o'clock or so. I thought let me talk for few minutes and then I'll give an option to the people to ask questions. I prefer people asking questions. In fact, my lecture somewhere when the physically there, I first ask the people to ask me questions and then I'll respond to it. Okay, I'll stop here. And but one thing, that technology is going to tremendously change education processes, teaching learning processes. LMS, he talked, we also have LMS. No, LMS, it is internationally available wherever you open, and then you can see the content, the very structured content, curated content, and so quality becomes very quality level things can be given to any person, any part of the corner. So quality gap which used to come because of physical distance extra is going to be reduced. Then you can say real-time processes effectively, and metaverse are going to continue. A process of management of student, process of evaluation, etc. is also going to. NEP is talking of flexibility, multidisciplinarity, a credit bank, and then now NQF. I worked on NQF last 20 years. My report on National Qualification Framework, I wanted them to introduce 20 years back. It was exactly 2002. 2002. When I was in Nepal, I submitted a report on National Qualification Framework, and now they are introducing qualification national. That will bring about a major change in your education processes. Anywhere you can do, and exit and entry can be possible. The flexibility part of it. I have been pleading for the granting autonomy and degree granting status. You can see in the college post, I have continuously worked on the some requesting that colleges should be given degree granting status, those who have worked for 20 years or they are capable of it, and instead of having affiliating system. I'm against affiliating system. So that's kind of a thing is good. So policy is making a lot of mention about it. You are under a new change now, but it should happen in the real way, on the ground. There should be a clarity of walk the talk. So the talk has to be really implemented effectively, and that would bring about major change. And be ready for next 5 years. Things would be so fast and swift. When we started in education communication, I started with the VSET and ROT, where both the communication could take place with a difference of 4 seconds. So we had a training program set up in Delhi, and 5 universities, 6 universities did it in all over India. That was a VSET technology, which I consider was very important. And ROT means without interaction, you can see it and etc. But now the internet of thing, which has become a hallmark of change, and blockchain will become very important. AI would become major. So these are going to influence our education process. Not only job processes have already changed, and they are going to change very fast. By the time you prepare for them, they will change. So the flexibility, whatever is prepared, you are making the teachers today by education. You should make them to be flexible, adaptable, changes. Self-learning become a very important part. In our Indian time, that was Swadhyaya, they used to say the self-learning. And now Swadhyaya would become as necessarily composed on the students, and then you can. So these are the changes which are coming. I'm sure you will be able to grapple with these changes, which will, whether you like or not, they are going to come. Today you are working on Zoom, tomorrow you'll work on a real-time Internet of Things, and job processes will also undergo a change. So these are the developments which are going. I'll stop here and ask for any questions and etc. Thank you very much.